Aisha adjusted to university life, but it was harder than she had imagined. The lectures were demanding, and many of her classmates came from wealthy families with resources she could only dream of. One afternoon, her professor assigned a research project that required access to expensive textbooks. Aisha didn't know how she would afford them. She called David to share her worries. "Aisha," he said, "you've overcome bigger challenges than this. Talk to your professors. Find the library. There's always a way." Encouraged by his words, Aisha visited the campus library and found most of the books she needed. She realized that resourcefulness and determination would be her greatest tools. Over time, Aisha developed a routine. She woke up early to review her notes, attended lectures during the day, and worked part-time in the evenings to support herself. She joined a student study group, where she met classmates who were eager to help her succeed. One of them, Grace, became her close friend. Grace often reminded Aisha, "We're in this together. Lean on me when it gets tough." Though the workload was heavy, Aisha's passion for medicine kept her motivated. She was no longer just a girl from a small farming community, she was a university student chasing her dream. As much as Aisha loved university, she often missed home. The city felt lonely at times, and she longed for her mother's comforting words and her siblings' laughter. One evening, she called home. Her father answered, his voice gruff but warm. "How is school, Aisha?" he asked. "It's hard, Baba, but I'm doing well," she replied. "Good," he said after a pause. "Keep working hard. We are proud of you." Hearing those words gave Aisha the strength to push through her homesickness. She promised herself she would make her family proud. Midterms arrived, and the pressure was immense. Aisha spent sleepless nights preparing, her notes spread out on the small desk in her dorm room. The exams were tough, and Aisha doubted herself as she walked out of each one. When the results were announced, she was overjoyed to see she had scored among the top in her class. Her professors began to notice her hard work and determination. One of them, Dr. Kamau, called her into his office. "Aisha, you have great potential. Keep this up, and you'll go far," he said. Those words reminded Aisha why she had fought so hard to be there. Aisha began receiving letters from home. Her mother wrote about the family, the farm, and how proud everyone was of her. David's letters were different. He wrote about his own dreams and the progress he was making in his work. "You've inspired me, Aisha," he wrote. "I've started taking evening classes. Maybe one day, I'll also do something big." Aisha treasured those letters. They reminded her of where she came from and the people who believed in her. Dr. Kamau, impressed by Aisha's dedication, took her under his wing. He invited her to join his research team, where she learned about real-world medical challenges in Kenya. One day, he said, "Aisha, your passion for helping people is rare. I see great things in your future. Never let anyone tell you otherwise." Working with Dr. Kamau was exhausting but rewarding. Aisha felt like she was finally getting closer to her dream of becoming a doctor. One evening, Aisha received a phone call from her father. His voice sounded strained. "Aisha, your mother isn't feeling well," he said. Fear gripped Aisha's heart. "What happened, Baba?" "She has been weak for weeks. The clinic here isn't helping much," he replied. Aisha's mind raced. She wanted to rush home, but she had exams coming up. "I'll come as soon as I can," she promised. That night, she couldn't focus on her studies. All she could think about was her mother. As soon as her exams were over, Aisha traveled back to her village. The familiar sights and sounds brought a mix of emotions. At home, she found her mother lying in bed, her face pale but her smile warm. "Aisha, you've grown so much," Mama Koronjo said weakly. Aisha examined her mother's condition, using the little medical knowledge she had gained. She realized that her mother needed better care than what the local clinic could provide. "I'll find a way to help you, Mama," she promised. Determined to help her mother, Aisha spoke to Dr. Komau about the situation. He suggested she bring her mother to a hospital in the city for further tests. Convincing her father was not easy. Hospitals in the city are expensive, Mzee Koronjo said. But Baba, this is Mama's health. We can't take chances, Aisha argued. After much persuasion, her father agreed. Aisha arranged for her mother to travel to Nairobi, where she could receive the care she needed. When Mama Koronjo arrived in Nairobi, Aisha took her to the hospital Dr. Komau had recommended. It was the first time her mother had left the village, and she looked nervous. Don't worry, Mama. You're in good hands, Aisha reassured her. The doctors ran several tests and diagnosed Mama Koronjo with anemia caused by malnutrition. They explained that with proper treatment and a balanced diet, she would recover. Aisha felt relieved but also guilty. I should have realized sooner, she thought. She vowed to ensure her family back home would have better access to medical care and nutrition. When Mzee Koronjo came to Nairobi to visit Mama, he marveled at the hospital and the care she was receiving. He watched as Aisha confidently spoke with the doctors, asking questions and taking notes. You've learned a lot, Aisha, he said quietly. Yes, Baba, she replied. And this is why I wanted to study medicine, to help people like Mama and others in our village. For the first time, Mzee Koronjo seemed to understand her dream fully. You are making us proud, he said. His words brought tears to Aisha's eyes. After her mother's treatment, Aisha returned to her studies, but she couldn't stop thinking about the challenges her village faced. She began researching ways to bring healthcare services closer to her community. She shared her ideas with Grace and Dr. Komau. What if we organize a medical camp in my village, she asked. Even basic checkups could make a difference. Dr. Komau agreed to help, and Grace offered to recruit volunteers. The idea of giving back to her community filled Aisha with a renewed sense of purpose. Aisha and her team worked tirelessly to plan the medical camp. They raised funds, collected medical supplies, and reached out to doctors willing to volunteer their time. David also got involved, helping to spread the word in the village. Everyone is excited, he told Aisha. They can't wait to see what you've done. Though the preparations were overwhelming, Aisha felt more motivated than ever. She saw the medical camp as the first step toward improving healthcare in her village. The day of the camp finally arrived. Aisha and the team set up tents in the village square, offering services like general checkups, vaccinations, and health education. People from all over the community came, including Mzee Koronjo. He watched with pride as Aisha walked alongside the doctors, guiding patients and explaining treatments. One elderly woman held Aisha's hands and said, "You've brought hope to us, my child. May you succeed in all you do." Aisha's heart swelled with gratitude. She knew this was just the beginning of her mission to bring change. News of the medical camp spread beyond the village. A local journalist wrote an article about Aisha, praising her determination and community spirit. At university, her professors and classmates congratulated her. Dr. Komau even suggested she apply for a national leadership program for young professionals in healthcare. Aisha hesitated. "I'm not sure if I'm ready," she told Grace. Grace smiled. "You've already proven that you can lead, Aisha. This is your chance to make an even bigger impact." Encouraged by her friend's words, Aisha decided to apply. Aisha was overjoyed when she received the acceptance letter for the National Leadership Program. It felt like a major step forward, not only for her but for the dreams she held for her community. The program brought together young leaders from across the country, all passionate about making a difference in healthcare, education, and development. The first week was overwhelming. Aisha met people with different backgrounds and experiences, some from urban areas with advanced resources and others from rural villages like her own. One of the mentors, Dr. Mwangi, emphasized the importance of local solutions. "Leadership isn't about changing the world all at once," he said. "It's about starting where you are and growing from there." Aisha shared her vision during one of the sessions. I want to bring sustainable healthcare and education to rural areas, she explained. Her ideas resonated with the group, and many offered advice and support. During the program, Aisha was paired with a mentor who specialized in rural development. Together, they worked on refining her plans for a healthcare initiative. You've already made an impact with your medical camp, her mentor said. Now, think about creating something long-term, something that will continue even when you're not there. Aisha started drafting a proposal for a mobile clinic that could travel to remote villages, providing basic healthcare services. The idea excited her, but she knew it would take significant resources and collaboration to make it happen. When the program ended, Aisha returned to university feeling inspired. She had not only gained new knowledge but also built connections with people who shared her vision for change. She knew this was just the beginning of a new chapter in her journey. Back at the university, Aisha threw herself into her studies and continued working on her mobile clinic proposal. She sought advice from professors, fellow students, and even her father, whose newfound support gave her strength. Mzee Koronjo, now an advocate for education and development in the village, suggested she involve local leaders in her plans. That way, he explained, the people will see this as their project, not just yours. His words made sense to Aisha. She began reaching out to village elders and community members, presenting her idea and asking for their input. Her efforts bore fruit. The elders agreed to support the project and even offered to donate a piece of land for a permanent clinic in the future. Aisha felt deeply moved by their trust and commitment. She knew this was no longer just her dream, it was a collective vision for a better future. With the support of her mentor and university network, Aisha started applying for grants to fund the mobile clinic. It wasn't an easy process. Some applications were rejected, and others required more details than she had anticipated. But each setback taught her something new. One evening, David called with exciting news. Aisha, one of the organizations you reached out to wants to partner with you. They love your idea. He explained that the organization was willing to provide a van and initial medical supplies to get the project started. Aisha couldn't believe it. This is incredible, David. Thank you for helping me with the outreach. She felt a renewed sense of determination. The mobile clinic was no longer just an idea, it was becoming a reality. When the van arrived, Aisha and her team, including Grace and a few volunteers from the medical field, prepared for their first visit to a nearby village. They stocked the van with medicines, diagnostic tools, and educational materials. Dr. Komau, who had been a constant source of support, joined them for the inaugural trip. As the van rode into the village, children ran behind it, cheering. The team set up a small station, and patients began lining up. Some had traveled miles for a checkup, while others were simply curious about the new initiative. Aisha worked tirelessly, checking patients, organizing supplies, and ensuring everything ran smoothly. One elderly man said, "You've brought hope to us. We've waited years for something like this." That night, as the team packed up to leave, Aisha felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. The mobile clinic was a small step, but it was proof that change was possible. Word of the mobile clinic spread quickly. Villages that had never had access to healthcare began reaching out, asking Aisha and her team to visit. The demand was overwhelming, but Aisha was determined to keep going. She started training volunteers from the villages, teaching them basic healthcare practices so they could assist between the clinic's visits. This isn't just about providing services, Aisha explained. It's about empowering communities to take charge of their own health. The mobile clinic project became a success story, inspiring others to start similar initiatives. Local leaders, who had once been skeptical of Aisha's ambitions, now praised her efforts. One even approached Mzee Koronjo to express admiration. "Your daughter is changing lives," he said. Mzee Koronjo, filled with pride, replied, "She's teaching us all the value of dreams." As Aisha continued her work, she began to think about the future. She realized that while the mobile clinic was making a difference, there was still so much more to be done. With the foundation she had built, she felt ready to take on even greater challenges. As the mobile clinic expanded its reach, Aisha began dreaming of building a permanent health center in her village. She knew it would take significant time, effort, and resources, but the vision gave her purpose. She reached out to her mentor, Dr. Kamau, to discuss her ideas. Aisha, he said, this is a bold step, but I believe in your ability to make it happen. Start small, and gather the community's support. Let them be a part of the process. Encouraged by his advice, Aisha organized a village meeting to share her vision. Over 100 people showed up, including elders, youth, and even farmers who had heard about the success of the mobile clinic. Standing before them, Aisha said, this is not just my dream, it's ours. Together, we can build something that will serve generations to come. Her words struck a chord. The villagers pledged to help in any way they could. Some offered financial support, while others volunteered to provide labor or materials. Even her father, who had once doubted her dreams, stood up and said, Aisha has shown us what's possible. Let's support her fully. Aisha began working tirelessly on the project. She applied for grants, collaborated with architects, and worked with local leaders to secure permits for the land. Every evening, she would call David to share updates. You're unstoppable, Aisha, he would say, his voice filled with pride. Months turned into years, and slowly but surely, the health center began to take shape. It wasn't easy, there were delays, funding shortages, and moments of doubt, but Aisha refused to give up. The community's unwavering support kept her going. Finally, the day arrived when the health center was ready to open its doors. A grand opening ceremony was organized, and people from all over the region came to witness the milestone. Dressed in a traditional Kenyan dress, Aisha stood before the crowd, tears of joy in her eyes. This health center is a testament to what we can achieve when we come together, she said. It belongs to all of us. Let it be a place of healing, hope, and growth. The crowd erupted in applause as the ribbon was cut, officially marking the start of a new era for the village. The health center offered not just medical care but also training programs for local health workers, ensuring that the community would always have access to skilled professionals. In the years that followed, the health center became a beacon of hope for surrounding villages. Aisha continued her work as a doctor, serving her community and mentoring the next generation of healthcare workers. Her relationship with David grew stronger, and the two often talked about starting a family someday. One day, as Aisha walked through the health center, she spotted a young girl reading a book in the waiting area. The girl reminded her of herself, curious, determined, and full of dreams. Aisha knelt beside her and asked, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" The girl looked up and smiled. "I want to be a doctor, like you." Aisha's heart swelled with pride. "You can be anything you want to be," she said. "Just never stop believing in yourself." Looking back on her journey, Aisha realized how far she had come, from a small farming village to building a legacy that would last for generations. Her dreams had not only changed her life but had also transformed her community. And so, Aisha's story became an inspiration to many, a story of resilience, determination, and the power of dreams.